I am Frida Kahlo by Brad Meltzer, illustrated by Christopher Eliopoulos. I am Frida Kahlo from the Ordinary People Change the World series by Brad Meltzer, illustrated by Christopher Eliopoulos. I am Frida Kahlo. I was born in Mexico in this house. Later, we painted it blue and called it La Casa Azul, the blue house. It stood out from everything else. Isn't it beautiful? When I was 6 years old, I got a disease called polio. It made my right leg thinner and shorter than my left leg. My leg, it hurts. I know, mamamita. I had to stay in my room for 9 months. When I finally got out, kids would make fun of me. Pata de palo, peg leg. Look at peg leg. I tried hiding my leg under long skirts or by wearing extra socks. It didn't help. Thankfully, I always had a special place where I could escape. In my room, I'd breathe onto the window pane and draw a door. That door let me enter my imagination. There, I would visit a dairy called Pension. I entered through the O. It would take me down, down, down inside the earth, where my imaginary friend was always waiting for me. I don't remember what she looked like, or even what color she was, but together we would laugh and dance. I'd tell her all my problems, and she would listen. That made me happy, and when I'd blur the door with my hand, it would disappear. It's amazing what you can do with your imagination. To strengthen my leg, my dad encouraged me to play sports. Soccer, wrestling, boxing, swimming. I did it all. Great, you got it! Back then, these were considered boy sports, but not to me. One of the best things my dad shared with me was his curiosity about the world. As a photographer, he'd take me along when he went to shoot photos. Okay, plants, say cheese! He also liked to paint. While he did his watercolors, I'd collect pebbles, plants, and even insects. I'd bring them home, looking up each item in my dad's books and examining them under a microscope. Is that a real bug? Isn't it beautiful? Look around. Beauty is everywhere. At 14, I went to the National Preparatory School, the best high school in Mexico. Of the 2,000 students, I was one of only 35 girls. My goal was to be a doctor one day. At school, we were supposed to dress and behave a certain way. I dressed differently. The wealthy mothers would take one look at me and yell, "Que niña fea! What an ugly girl! She certainly doesn't look like anyone else. I think it's kinda cool." To other students, I was fascinating. My closest friends were a group of kids called the Cachuchas, which is like a hot pepper. We were smart and loved to read, but sometimes we got in trouble, like when we rode a real donkey down the hallway. "Frida, are you sure this is a good idea?" "Pretty sure." One day, a famous painter named Diego Rivera was hired to create a mural in our auditorium. I watched him for 3 hours. Soon, we would change each other's lives. I didn't know it at the time, but my hardest days were coming. At 18, I was in a terrible accident. when a trolley smashed into the bus I was riding. Ay, Dios mío! It's horrible. Someone on the bus had been carrying paint, so my body was covered in powdered gold. She's really hurt. A month after the accident, I came home from the hospital in a full body cast. My spinal column was broken in 3 places. The doctors literally had to put me back together. The pain in my leg and foot was terrible, and I could barely move my arms. But I survived. I didn't get many visitors. It made me realize that I wanted to be friends with only people who like me just the way I am. I knew my life had changed. I would no longer be a doctor. Instead, as I learned to lie still, I began to paint. Since I couldn't sit up in bed, my mom asked a carpenter to make a special easel for me. I grabbed my father's brushes, then I began. I worked hard, poring over books about art history. My first paintings weren't great. I even tore up one because I was so unhappy with it. But with my mirror, I kept going, painting what I saw. What's she painting? Her best subject. I paint myself because I am so often alone and because I am the subject I know best. As soon as I could go outside, I brought my paintings to Diego Rivera, the famous painter I had met years earlier. What do you think? The other 3 are okay. This portrait of you is the most original. You have talent. Over time, my portraits became more complex. I began adding pieces of local Mexican art and history, textiles and intricate carvings, to show people who I was. This is wonderful! Thank you. I'm just getting started. And here I always love what the illustrator does. He adds her actual paintings into the book. He does this with all of the artists they write about. Eventually, Diego and I got married. We traveled to America, to places like San Francisco, New York, and Detroit, meeting some of the wealthiest people in the world. Oh, I love the mix of old and new! Nelson Rockefeller said that. And here again you can see he is admiring one of her actual paintings. This is one of Frida Kahlo's paintings. Just like in high school, some people would insult my clothing. Look at her outfit. Does she belong in the circus? And those ugly sandals. They're called huaraches. I love these shoes. So you're a painter. Yes, the greatest in the world. That's really what I told him. My time away made me realize that my favorite place of all was home. Back in Mexico, I embraced all the things I loved. My heritage. Every day I dressed like a fiesta. Animals. I had a parrot, a pair of turkeys, and an osprey, and even pet monkeys. And of course, painting. Back then, women were expected to be quiet and feminine. I wasn't either of those things. I painted the way I wanted, on metal, glass, and tin. I also dressed the way I wanted, included wearing suits. I love her work. It's like a ribbon around a bomb. What does that mean? It means it's beautiful and strong. And again, you can see another one of Frida's actual paintings. In addition to painting, I became a teacher, a professor. Draw what you have in your houses, clay jars, furniture, toys, paint anything. Can we paint you? On the first day, that's exactly what they did. They painted me. The pain from my accident never went away. Some days it was so bad I could barely stand. Even then, I took my students on field trips. Beautiful, isn't it? Paint this. As my health got worse, my four most committed students, Los Fridos, came to my Casa Azul for their lessons. They painted everything they saw, and so did I. I wanted to paint, paint, paint. Eventually, I sent them out into the world to paint murals on nearby laundries and taverns. Frida taught us that art shouldn't be in palaces or just for those with money. Art is for everyone. To honor my work, a gallery owner began planning my first ever one-woman show in Mexico. I was so sick, she was worried I might miss it, so they set up my bed and made me part of the exhibit. She arrived by ambulance, on a stretcher. The party was overcrowded and sweaty. People were everywhere. It was total chaos and absolutely beautiful. And we've got photographer Lola Alvarez Bravo in the crowd. And here you can see the illustrator's renditions of her paintings, but these are all Frida's paintings around you. Tragedy nearly took my life, but it couldn't take my spirit. Fighting back wasn't easy, especially when people made fun of how I looked and where I was from. But I was determined to see things differently. My face, my clothes, my country, even my pain, these are the colors on my canvas. They don't look like anyone else's, and they shouldn't. That's the best part. Your picture is uniquely yours. And again, we have one of Frida's most popular paintings is her self-portrait with her pet animals behind her. Today, Frida Kahlo is considered one of the world's greatest artists, and La Casa Azul is now the Frida Kahlo Museum, open to the public. The museum has the last painting she ever painted, Viva vida, which means long live life. Her husband Diego Rivera eventually said, "She's a better painter than I am." She is proof that no one can ever define you, no matter how you look. Her hair looks like a pretzel in this one. That's not a pretzel, it's an infinity sign, something that ties us together and lives forever. Art is like life. It's rarely what it first appears. Instead of following a straight path, your life and your art will twist and turn, taking you on unexpected journeys. It's messy and bold and scary and fun, but it's all part of your picture, a magnificent self-portrait. Look in this mirror. What do you see? I see a work of art. I am Frida Kahlo, and I know that the most beautiful thing is you, just as you are. Painting completed my life, Frida Kahlo. And here we have a portrait of Miss Frida Kahlo. That's an actual photograph of her. We have a timeline at the bottom if you would like to gain some perspective of when her life took place. So July 6th, 1907, she was born in Cayocan in Mexico City. In 1913, she's diagnosed with polio. In 1922, she enrolls at National Preparatory School. In 1922 is also when she met Diego Rivera. September 17th, 1925, involved in the bus accident. In 1929, she marries Diego Rivera. 1943, begins as professor at La Esmeralda School. 1953, solo exhibition in Mexico. July 13th, 1954, dies in Cayocan. 1958, Frida Kahlo Museum opens. And in the top left corner we see Frida at age 11. Top right corner, Frida with Diego Rivera. And at the bottom we have Frida, third from the left, with her sisters and cousins.